Happy Thursday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer, back once again as your host here at The Daily Dope, presented by thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the Grand Poobah. Tonight is Thursday, July 25th. This is episode 335, I believe, pretty sure, of the show. I'm still kind of out of it. I still have the con crud. I still have what appears to be the birthmark off of Mikhail Gorbachev's forehead on my chin, not on my chin, on my cheek. Still have that. I'm wondering when that's going to start going away, because you figure this is a week later. It was a week ago tonight that I got dragged down at San Diego Comic-Con, so I don't know. Hey, the Madman's chiming in already. Good to see you, Madman. Anyway, do want to point out this is a live stream. If this is the first time you've joined me, very, very casual show. Usually share some tabletop gaming news. Then I might do an unboxing, or maybe a review, or maybe I page through an RPG book. So tonight, I am actually going to be reviewing the Call of Cthulhu starter set from Chaosium Inc. So that will be coming up in just a little bit. As I mentioned, this is a live show, so chat is available on YouTube. Chat is not on screen, so it's one of the ways that I kind of keep some of the stranger commenters at bay, but I do pay attention to the chat. So if you'd like to say howdy, or maybe you've got a question, or maybe there's something about Call of Cthulhu's starter set that you want to get a closer look at, by all means, please chime in. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you check out the Gaming Gang channel and you like some of the videos, please subscribe. And of course, if you do subscribe, be sure to ring that little bell, because it will not only tell you when a new video has been uploaded, it'll also tell you within about 5 minutes when the stream is going live. And of course, do me a favor, tell a friend, tell 2 friends. So Lead Magnet is popping in. Lead says you look a little less bear down today. Strangely enough, I think I'm more bear down today. I don't know what it is. You might even be able to tell in my voice that this is really like stuck in my sinuses. Thankfully, it's not really bad down in my chest, because that's usually what happens. If I get like a sinus infection, it clears up, and then it's like, I might as well have pneumonia. So, hey, John Vogel is popping in. It's been a while since we've seen John. Hello from WBC. Yes, John, be sure to say hi to Dan from No Enemies Here, because I know Dan wasn't going to be around this week because he is at WBC. I see Grant and Alexander from the Players Aid are there as well. So pretty sweet, pretty cool. As I was talking about subscribing, there is that contest that's still going on. It's going to run through August 5th. It looks like we're going to get pretty close to at least one giveaway. We're 52 subscribers away. August 5th is it's a little ways out there. So if we average about 4 new subscribers, we will hit the mark. And that giveaway is for the Pathfinder Adventure card game core set from Paizo Inc. I reviewed this not too long ago. It wasn't last week. I think it was it wasn't last week. I was at Comic-Con for most of the week. It was a couple weeks ago. We've really enjoyed it. We have really dug it. And it's not just the core set. I've also got the first adventure path. Yes, the Curse of the Crimson Throne. Plus the first batch of promo cards. All of this together is part of the giveaway. So in order to be able to win, I have to hit 1,600 subscribers by August 5th. Like I said, it's about 52 subscribers away at the moment. So all you need to do is be a subscriber and comment on one of the videos on the channel. That's it. Basically, easy peasy. Do want to mention you have to live in the US or Canada to be part of the process. Do want to point out, I actually have 3 copies I could give away of this. So at 1,600 subscribers, that's 1. 1,800 subscribers, that will be 2 giveaways. And at 2,000 subscribers, I will do 3 giveaways. But, gotta point out, not looking too promising getting to the 1,800. But that's okay. I mean, you know, been doing this a long time, and slowly but surely, you know, I get more subscribers. So, have to point out, if you watched yesterday's show, and Xsolera X1 has popped in. Good to see X1. I mentioned how, when I was at San Diego Comic-Con, that I talked to Todd McFarlane from Image Comics and McFarlane Toys, and he recognized me, and he actually watches episodes of The Daily Dope. More specifically, the Wargaming stuff, right? The Wargame Wednesdays. So I got, of course, an email from somebody today telling me, yeah, right. Because I shared a picture that my brother took with me and Todd McFarlane. And they were like, yeah, sure, I'm sure he watches the show. So I had to laugh because this morning I go on Board Game Geek just to make sure that yesterday's video has been accepted. You know, it's part of the game page over there. And I see, there's a comment on one of my videos. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Because it's usually someone complaining. You talk too much. I know like that. You talk too much. It's like, sorry. Start your own website and do your own show if that's the case. I'm not making anybody watch, right? Something, and here we go. And I look, and it's on the Gandhi decolonization of British India video that I did for the latest coin release from GMT Games. And it's a comment from Todd McFarlane. I was like, wow, that's pretty funny. Here's somebody tells me, and I guess it looks like Todd McFarlane may have recently got into board gaming because he joined Board Game Geek like last year. So I was like, wow. So anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. I had to laugh. Somebody was going, So I also got an email yesterday. I guess it was this morning, asking me what kind of swag I got at Comic-Con. Not much really. Tomorrow's show, I'll actually show off the little things that I bought, but I really didn't buy much. In fact, it was all kind of weird, goofy stuff. It's kind of stuff to put behind me on the shelves that everybody makes fun of me for. And I bought the Snoopy Apollo hat. I was wearing that yesterday, but I'll show it off on tomorrow's show. So anyway, got some news tonight. Of course, I am going to review the Call of Cthulhu starter set from Chaosium. I will be paging through and kind of taking a look. So, got 5 news pieces. Nice mix of news tonight. I know there are some folks out there who do not like the tabletop gaming news. I get it. But if that's the case, and you are not watching live, be sure to take a peek at the show notes below, and there are timestamps. You can skip right past. You can jump right into the Call of Cthulhu review if you would like. But if you're watching live, you're kind of hanging with me. We're going to talk a little tabletop gaming news because Days of Wonder, we don't hear a lot from them too often, has revealed that they've got a 15th anniversary edition for Ticket to Ride coming. It's coming next month, and I've got the dope. With elegantly simple gameplay, Ticket to Ride can be learned in under 15 minutes. Players collect cards of various types of train cars they then use to claim railway routes in North America. I should say routes. The longer the routes, the more points they earn. Additional points come to those who fulfill destination tickets, gold cards that connect distant cities, and to the player who builds the longest continuous route. Route. Why do I keep saying that? I need a sip. I told you, Led, I'm more bear down today. The rules are simple enough to write on a train ticket. Each turn, you either draw more cards, claim a route, or get additional destination tickets, says Ticket to Ride designer Alan R. Moon. The tension comes from being forced to balance greed. Greed is good, remember that. Adding more cards to your hand and fear losing a critical route to a competitor. Boo hiss. So in addition to the classic US map, this anniversary edition will include 240 exclusive clear plastic trains, as well as a short retrospective booklet that discusses the game's development. The game is for 2 to 5 players, ages 8 and up, plays in about 30 to 60 minutes, and will carry an MSRP of $49.99 when it arrives on August 9th. I gotta be honest, I wish I had more images of this to show you, but Days of Wonder didn't release any. In fact, if you go to the Days of Wonder website, they don't even have this news up yet. Kind of weird. So on a side note, as everybody knows, I kind of go off on tangents here. Ticket to Ride was one of the first games that I played when I started to get back into board games. What was this, 2009? Maybe early 2010? I had flown in, I lived out in Mesa, Arizona, and I came back to Chicago because that's where a majority of my family lives. And of course, Elliot Miller, my best friend over at voiceofe.com, though he's not doing much for the website lately, was like, dude, come on, we need to play some of these games. So we played Ticket to Ride, and he shellacked me. He smoked me like a cheap cigar. And we played it again, and he beat me even worse. And then we moved on to Carcassonne, and he spanked me at that too. And I was like, wow, am I that rusty as far as like being a competitor here? As Led says, it is a great family game. This really is a very nice gateway game. It's a little light for my tastes, but it's not a game that I'll refuse to play. I mean, there are some gateway games where I'm like, no. Like Catan, I'm not a fan of Catan. I'm sorry, I'm just not. This I will sit and play. All right, moving right along. White Wizard Games has 3 new expansion packs coming for their hit game, Sorcerer. And I've got the dope. Sorcerer is a dark fantasy sorcerer, okay? I don't have to be doing a stupid voice for it. Sorcerer is a dark fantasy game from the creators of Star Realms. Just reviewed it a couple weeks ago. Check it out. I enjoyed it. This character building game combines the best elements of a strategy card game and a tactical board game to create a whole new play experience. 3 expansion packs let you increase the variety of characters you can play, and the other accessories will let you expand the game with more players. There's the Virgiliu character pack. Play as Virgiliu and use your pyromancy to burn your enemies to cinders. You will rain fire damage upon opposing minions. And if your fire sorceries destroy a minion, you will search your grimoire for more powerful sorceries, or even an immortal phoenix to add to your hand. This pack is a complete character deck for use with Sorcerer, containing a Virgiliu avatar standee, the Virgiliu character skill card, and 10 cards for your grimoire. It's going to carry an MSRP of $5.99. Then there's the Sylvani Lineage Pack, where you can play as a druid and ensnare your opponents with the ancient magics of the forest. As a descendant of the Sylvani lineage, your minions will grow roots, root armor, while a never-ending supply of treekin sprout forth, to serve you. Over time, your treekin will grow into mighty deep-root guardians. This pack is a complete lineage deck for use with Sorcerer, containing the Druid lineage skill card, 5 treekin deep-root guardian token minions, a rules card, 8 root counters, and 20 cards for your grimoire. This will carry an MSRP of $9.99. Finally, we have the Blood-Soaked Fjord Domain Pack. Claim the Blood-Soaked Fjord as your domain and crush your enemies with the mighty trolls of the north. You will find no shortage of raw power with the trolls of the Blood-Soaked Fjord in your ranks. You'll whip them into a berserker rage and unleash the mightiest of attacks. This will carry an MSRP of $4.99 and will include 10 new cards. All of these new expansion packs will arrive on August 13th. There is also an Egyptian battlefield that you can bring into the mix, so you can actually play two-player games or a big massive 4-player game with just the core set if you have the Egyptian battlefield. So that is what's coming from White Wizard Games. And as I mentioned before, I really do enjoy Sorcerer. We got a kick out of that. It was a game that I was pleasantly surprised how much I enjoyed it. All right, so if you are a fan of Talisman, you should be pretty excited because Talisman is coming back. That's right, from Pegasus Spiele, and I've got the dope. Deep in the world of Talisman, players go on a journey to magical lands and endeavor to reclaim the crown of command. As a priestess, a wizard, a warrior, or one of 11 other heroes, players battle, gain knowledge and power, and advance toward the Valley of Fire. But their path is perilous, and first they must defeat the lurking guardians and obtain one of the legendary talismans in order to pass through the portal of power. Monsters, traps, and dark magic await players on every step of the way. Talisman, the magical quest game, is a family-friendly board game classic with role-playing elements, which is as popular as ever in its 36th year since its first publication. In 2019, the classic returns to Pegasus Spiele and will be available worldwide. Talisman is an adventure board game set in a high fantasy medieval world. Players have 14 characters to choose from, all based on role-playing archetypes, such as heroes, wizards, villains, thieves, monsters, and more. The game makes players feel like they're traveling the world to find equipment, weapons, ancient relics, and companions that will help them on their quest to acquire the Crown of Command. Along the way, they visit various locales in the worlds, battle each other and fantastic creatures to make their way to the top. This new release is for 2 to 6 players ages 12 and up, plays in 90 minutes to 2 hours, and will carry an MSRP of $59.95 when it arrives in August. Yes, hey, Nefarious Coel has popped in. Good to see you, Nefarious. It's Talisman, aka the monopoly of fantasy adventure games. I'll be the first to point out, I have never played Talisman. Zoinks! I have never played... I'm trying to remember it's the little science fiction game where you create the different, like, races. Different races of different creatures in that. What is it? Something Conflict? I know, I'm kicking myself because I can't think of it at the moment. So that's what happens when you're taking, medications to hopefully clear up your sinuses, and they're just, messing with your head rather than cleaning your sinuses out. The Nefarious Coel says, the roll to move around the board squares is often criticized in Talisman. Yeah, well, roll and move it gets kind of a bad rap sometimes. Usually, it is bad. Like I said, I've never played Talisman, but there's actually more to this news because, interestingly enough, there's going to be a Talisman Adventures role-playing game. They are in the middle of playtesting. You can pick up the playtest book. A whole new world of adventures awaits. Talisman comes alive like never before with his easy-to-learn system using only 3 6-sided dice. This playtest guide offers a chance to explore the realm of Talisman as never before. The rulebook contains everything you need to play and run the game up to 3rd level. It has rules for character creation, including 6 ancestries, elf, dwarf, human, ghouls, troll, and sprite. and 9 classes: assassin, druid, minstrel, priest, prophet, sorcerer, thief, warrior, and wizard. Also contains the core rules of play, 6 starting characters, and a starting adventure that details some of the more advanced rules for telling stories in the realm of Talisman. Be part of the journey and help Pegasus forge the path of this new and exciting game. This playtest book is available it will be available in August. It's going to carry an MSRP of $9.95. I am a little surprised by them charging for a playtest. Now, granted, this is a hardcover book, so I get it. But I didn't see any info about a PDF to check it out. So yeah, so Viper Dave pops in and says, sorry about the bar fight. No. In case you weren't watching yesterday, when I was at San Diego Comic-Con last Thursday, we were leaving the convention center at the end of the day. It was like, 6 o'clock. And there's an area that we walked through. We were going to go to this Ralph's, which, if you're not familiar with the West Coast, it's kind of like a chain of grocery stores, but they have a lot of prepared food. So we were going to go grab some stuff for dinner over there. And so we had to walk down this one way. And if you've never been to Comic-Con, can't really explain it. It is jam-packed. I posted a video on my Twitter feed. And it was from Thursday afternoon, just showing the convention hall and how just jam-packed it was. And that's like a quiet day. So anyway, so we're all like jammed in together as we're walking. And we know this area, so we know stuff like pops out of nowhere. So you got to pay attention to where you're going. Otherwise, you're going to, end up falling over. There's like some lighting things that are like set in the ground, fire hydrants, what have you. So anyway, so we're walking, and this woman who was kind of like next to me, but a little behind me, there was a fire hydrant. I saw it. I was going around it. She, of course, fell right over it and grabbed me to try to break her fall, and all she did was actually yank me down. So then a couple other people fell over on us, so yeah, I showed off my knees yesterday, and they're all kind of torn up and scabbed, and it's pretty gross. And of course, side of my face is all banged up. I still have a little scratch up here too. I had a cut on my nose. It was really bizarre. Anyway, so let's move on. Moving on to the next news piece. Wizards of the Coast is going to celebrate the 5th anniversary of 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons' first adventure. Here's the dope. To celebrate 5 years since its initial release, Wizards of the Coast announced Tyranny of Dragons, a single special volume re-release of the 2-part adventure from 2014, featuring a new cover designed by Hydro74, to be sold exclusively through game and hobby channels beginning October 22nd. Nathan Stewart, VP of D&D, had this to say: Dungeons & Dragons means a lot to millions of people, and we're excited to celebrate everything the community has achieved in the 5 years since we launched 5th edition. Tyranny of Dragons was an iconic adventure out of the gate, and we've made it even more memorable by putting it all under a new cover featuring the visage of Tiamat in Hydro 74's distinctive style. Tyranny of Dragons is a 224-page adventure taking players from level 1 all the way to level 16 as they contend against the Cult of the Dragon's plans to bring their queen, Tiamat, to the Forgotten Realms. This volume combines the 2 previous titles, Horde of the Dragon Queen and The Rise of Tiamat, into one book, updating the adventure by incorporating feedback to smooth out the curve for new players, while adding resources previously available only online and a special gallery of never before seen concept art. Tyranny of Dragons will arrive on October 22nd, and it will carry an MSRP of $49.95. So, Bones is popping in. Wow, I actually caught one of your live streams. Yes, you're catching it live. It's not as exciting as you may think. Anyway, So, gotta be honest. When I reviewed Tyranny of Dragons, I did not think it was a very good campaign. In fact, if you check out my review, it's a written review on the Gaming Gang site. I say it should have been called Board of the Dragon Queen, not Horde of the Dragon Queen. I honestly, whatever additional materials and stuff they bring into it, I don't know if it's going to save the adventure in my eyes. Because to me, try not to do any spoilers in case anybody out there is considering running the campaign. And I mean, a lot of people love this campaign. Don't get me wrong, but to me, it almost felt like it was cribbed from a Call of Cthulhu adventure. So I don't know, but I have to point out, getting both adventures together for $49.95. I mean, both parts of the campaign. That's a pretty good deal. It's a pretty good deal. And cool cover. I like the cover. So my final news piece. The latest release for the Star Trek Adventure role-playing game is now available from Modiphius Entertainment. It's in PDF. I've got the dope on the Alpha Quadrant sourcebook. Home sweet home. We are all explorers driven to know what's over the horizon, what's beyond our own shores. The Alpha Quadrant sourcebook provides game masters and players with a wealth of information to aid in playing or running adventures set within the Star Trek universe. The Alpha Quadrant sourcebook contains 11 new alien species players can choose from during character generation, including Aurelians, Kydians, I'm not familiar with those, Edosirians, and Ferengi. Okay, well, Ferengi I know. A selection of alien starships from the Cardassian Union, the Ferengi Alliance, the Breen Confederacy, and the Tholian Assembly. There's also guidance for the Game Master on running missions and continuing voyages in the Alpha Quadrant, along with a selection of plot components to help plan adventures and several new non-player characters to enhance encounters. There's details on the Federation's presence in the Alpha Quadrant up to 2372, and details on the homeworlds of Betazed, Denobula, Tellar Prime, and Trill. Material about the people, history, and culture of Bajor and the Cardassian Union includes details on Cardassia Prime and other worlds. There's information about the Ferengi Alliance, the Zenkithi Coalition, the Breen Confederacy, and, as mentioned before, the Tholian Assembly. The Star Trek Adventures supplementary rule books and source books, which this is, does require the Star Trek Adventures core rulebook in order to play. The 136-page source book is available right now from Drive-Thru RPG for $14.99. Very cool, very sweet. I gotta point out, I personally think the Star Trek Adventures role-playing game is really well done. It is really nicely done. I know some people don't dig like the 2D20 system. The funny thing is, the John Carter of Mars edition, they kind of streamlined the 2D20 quite a bit. So I know a lot of people are like, wow, I wish Conan had that kind of streamlined and Star Trek had that kind of streamlined. But still pretty sweet, pretty nice. And of course, as I mentioned, Drive-Thru RPG, the Gaming Gang, and thus the Daily Dope, are affiliates of the Drive-Thru site. So if you are popping over to Drive-Thru RPG or maybe Wargame Vault, what have you, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banners. Drive-Thru's up top, Wargame Vault's down on the bottom. And if you do happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. And all those little portions do add up and do help keep the website around. So, Nefarious asks, am I going to get a review copy of the Aliens RPG from Free League? Or Modiphius / Freya Lagan, I guess we can say, technically. Yeah, I should. I just got Crusader Kings yesterday and shared that on the show. That's from Free League. So, Free League likes the coverage I do for the role-playing games. Modiphius, on the other hand, can be kind of tough. Now, I'm going to talk to Chris Birch at Gen Con. I already have an interview scheduled with him, and I have interviewed him before. So gonna see about maybe getting some of this stuff in, because he did send, not him personally, his PR people did send the John Carter of Mars slipcase, which was really sweet. So yes, the Aliens core book. Anyway, I took a look through the quick start rules. For one, I'm not real keen on the game master being called the game mother. It just sounds odd. Yes, I get it. I get the alien mother. Yes, but yeah, game mother. I'm like, I don't know. So yes, Nefarious is saying, yeah, eyeing the pre-order, but wary of the shipping from the EU. That's one of the reasons why I don't get a lot of the Modiphius stuff, because it's got to come from the UK. So, and that shipping is expensive. That's why the contest I'm doing, I'm like, got to be in the US or Canada, folks. Sorry. All right, so that is it for the news today. Do want to point out what's coming up on tomorrow's show as well as into next week. Obviously enough, there will not be a show Wednesday through Friday next week. I will be at Gen Con. I will have some videos, though, and I'll mention what those will be in just a bit. So, tomorrow's show, I will be unboxing Heart of Crown, Fairy Garden from Japanime Games. This is, I've heard some interesting things about this. Now, of course, yes, it's kind of little pretty girls and little princesses. But as far as I understand, this is actually kind of a cutthroat game, because each player is trying to get their princess, like, I guess, on the throne or something like that. So, kind of cool. The Furious says Aliens uses the same system as Coriolis, Mutineer Zero, and so on. Yeah, I do like that system too. I think it's a really easy system to kind of grasp. Like I said, I didn't dig into the quick start all that much, but here's my thing with the Aliens role-playing game. Here's the qualm I have about that is, how much detail are you going to get? I mean, if you're going to get like all this like world building, then I'd say, yeah, this is pretty cool. But if it becomes where it's just a role-playing game about colonists, space marines, aliens, xenomorphs, I guess I'll say, and corporate baddies, I don't think it's going to do much. And Nefarious just says the same thing. I hope it expands the Aliens universe. That's what I'm curious about. So, like I said, if it's just, playing space marines and stuff, we've kind of gone down this road before. So, anyway, so that is what's on tomorrow's show. Monday's show, yikes. It's almost slipped out of my hand. I'll be unboxing Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea from my pals over at Gamelin Games. Big box, lots of stuff in it. And then on Tuesday, I'll be reviewing Aeon's End from Indie Boards and Cards. So that is what's cooking. What I'm going to try to do, I should be able to pull this off over the weekend. Now on Sunday, I'm getting together with my nephew Cameron and his girlfriend and some of his other friends, because I do my kind of like kit bash fantasy role-playing game. It's kind of old school fantasy role-playing. So we have our next session on Sunday, so it won't be Sunday, but on Saturday, I'm going to do my best to shoot first look videos of the second edition for Pathfinder, the core rulebook, as well as the Pathfinder Bestiary. So these are pretty big books. Now, the Bestiary clocks in at what we usually see a core book at. So I'm taking a guess it's probably $250 to $275. The core book, though, now, this is under embargo, so I can't share anything with you. So I'm going to open this up and look at the back here. 638 pages for this core book. So, I will be sharing that. So the way I'm kind of planning to do it, because it's under embargo until August 1st, is that I'll have the videos all set up, all ready to go, and then I'll just push a button, boom, they'll be up, and you can check them out. Of course, they're not going to be reviews, because I have just started digging into the core book, and it's 630 some pages, folks. I mean, yeah, Nefarious is like, those look thick. Yeah, it is. I mean, just if you're looking at page count, here, I'll show you the back. I think I can show you the back. I actually used Pathfinder Goblins in my kit-bashed fantasy role-playing game. But just on page count alone for the price, it's a damn good deal. So, what's going on? Let's see what we've got here in chat. Aeon's End, isn't that an old game, or is it the new edition? It is the new edition. It is the newest edition of Aeon's End, just so you know. So, we have really enjoyed it. I'll give you a little hint. It is not a deck building game. It's more like a deck crafting game, because you don't shuffle up your cards. I'll leave that for you to ponder. So, Nefarious says, I think it's the same core game from years ago. I didn't play the original years ago, so I don't know. But I do know that this was the new edition. So, anyway, before I jump into my page through and review of the Call of Cthulhu starter set, I do want to mention, because the gaminggang.com and, of course, the Daily Dope and the channel are all pretty much not for profit. If you like the site, if you like the show, if you like the channel, please consider making a small donation to Little Bub's Big Fund and the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Little Bub's Big Fund does provide grant monies to organizations around the United States who care for special needs animals who are awaiting adoption. These animals might require medication daily. They could have mobility issues. They could be like me, a bit long in the tooth. They could have weird Mikhail Gorbachev. No, they don't have that. They could be blind. They could be deaf as well. They all have special needs. But these pets still do deserve to find good, loving homes. And that's what Lil Bub's Big Fund is all about. I also always point out that 100% of all monies raised in Lil Bub's Big Fund is granted out. It is not a situation where, somebody skims off the top. So, and I do point out that the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals is not an organization that gives out 100% of the money raised. This fund does. And of course, if you do make a small donation, please shoot me an email. My email address is right down there in the corner. It's jeffmcaleer@thegaminggang.com. And if you would like, I'll give you a shout out on the following show. I think I've only done like 2 shout outs, but I do get emails from people saying, hey, I like your show, so I floated Xbox, whatever. And I'm like, cool, thank you. And they're like, nah, I don't need you to like crow about it. I'm like that too. When I do charitable stuff, I keep it like kind of under wraps. I feel weird. I'm not one of these people like, oh, good job, Jeff. You're such a good boy. Anyway, so Lil Bub Hotep, there you go. It's a her, actually. So Lil Bub is a her. So, okay, anyway, so moving right along, I know folks are going to be tuning in to see what I've got to say about the Call of Cthulhu starter set, which is from Chaosium Inc. It's written by Mike Mason, Paul Fricker, Lynn Hardy, the late great Lynn Hardy, Sandy Peterson, Lynn Willis, the late great Lynn Willis, Gavin Ingles, John Sullivan, Keith Herber, Dan Kramer, Mark Morrison, and Chris Spivey. The artwork and graphic design is provided by Victor Leza, Josu Hernandez, Gavin Ingles, Marcelo Gallegos, Rachel Kahn, Victor Leza, Wayne Miller, Caleb Cleveland, Eric Lofgren, Vendrell J. Arden, Oliver Sanfilippo, and Dean Engelhardt. I know some people don't like how I include the artists, but it's like, you know what? These people never get much credit for, and I'm one of these people. I love good artwork in my role-playing games. So the role-playing game is for 2 or more players, although you do have a solo adventure included here. It's for I would say ages 12 and up is my opinion. And the starter set does carry an MSRP of $24.99 if you want to get the physical boxed set. Or you can score the PDF from my friends at Drive-Thru RPG for $9.99. So let's move on over to the other camera, which is, why is that broken up like that? All right, what's going on here? That is bizarre. So give me a second here, because it looks fine on my end. That's weird, because it looked fine earlier too. There we go. Wow, that's weird. Now the thing is, Smokey was on my lap earlier, so it's possible she may have bumped the cable. I was going to say, what the hell is going on? Am I having flashbacks? There you go. Yes, it was mind control. It was my attempt at mind control. Yes, Bones is like, blame Cthulhu. So, I did an unboxing of this, and we did page through this. I'm going to pop on the old reading glasses here. So, I already showed off pretty much the contents of that. We are going to kind of peek through them again. I do want to point out, this is the return of the 1-inch box, the famous Chaosium 1-inch box. And I believe it was something like 25 years since they had actually released something in the 1-inch box. Now, I originally purchased Call of Cthulhu when it came out. So I have been running Call of Cthulhu since 1981. Yeah. So I've been through every edition of, as we like to refer to it, C of C. I know a lot of people call it COC, but we've always called it C of C. So anyway, it's everything you need. It says all you need to enjoy horror role-playing. And I gotta be honest, they're not lying. They are not lying. We do get a set of dice. We'll point out there is no 12-sided die in here. There is an extra percentile die, as I pop these all out. And for some oddball reason, seems like this die is just a little bit bigger. Maybe not. I don't know. I was looking at, looks like the numbers are bigger. I can tell you that much. So, gotta be honest, I was not knocked out by the dice. I was sort of, these dice are kind of generic, kind of cheap. Now, I will point out, the MSRP is $24.99, so I'm not expecting like super like different like dual colors and all these other things mixed in here. But the dice do feel just a little bit cheap. It's no big deal. I'm not going to ding it that hard for dice. So it talks about what we got in the box, talking about reading this first. Get a little ad for the interactive fiction game. We have 3 books. We've got handouts. We've got pre-generated character sheets as well as blank character sheets too. So first thing we're going to do here is I'm going to push these off camera here, or at least behind my noggin. We're going to take a look at the 3 books, because this is the heart and soul, in my opinion, of this product. So we've got book 1, Alone Against the Flames, which is a solitary adventure which is meant to introduce you to the key concepts of the Call of Cthulhu game mechanics. Call of Cthulhu is based on the basic role-playing system from Chaosium, which has been around for a long, long time. I do believe we can give Greg Stafford credit for coming up with it with RuneQuest. At least RuneQuest was the first game that I ran across that had the percentile-based action resolution. So, we've got Alone Against the Flames. I'm going to flip through this real quickly. So, if you are familiar with kind of like the create your own adventures sort of game books from the past, which are kind of making a little bit of a comeback, then you'll be pretty familiar with this. I'm going to zoom in just a touch here. All right, so do you hear the Call of Cthulhu? So it talks a little bit about the game, Talking about it's a role-playing game. There's no real winners and losers. It's, surviving. It's stopping the menace is usually what it really is in a Call of Cthulhu game. So, talks about a little bit of example of play, talks about the dice, then it jumps right into the adventure. You're not sitting there creating a character before you start playing, because as you play, you're going to be creating the character as you go. So by the time you finish up the adventure, you will have created your character and you will understand how the rules work, because you'll hit sections where it says, okay, now you do this. Now you make this roll. Now you take a look at this character sheet item, and this is how you use luck. Things along those lines. We'll point out you are going to flip back and forth in this a lot, because, of course, like most create your own adventures would be, usually it would have, okay, so you've got a choice, and it'll say, oh, if you choose this, go to this entry. If you choose that, go to this entry. Or if you pass this test, then go to this number, and if you fail, go to this number. Furia says, paragraph-based Alone Against COC sounds like a bit of fun. I wonder which one is the best, because there's numerous ones. There's Alone Against the Flames. There's another one. Alone Against the Dark, is it? Is it Alone Against the Dark, maybe? I will point out, this is a fun adventure, but to me, it's not stereotypical of a Call of Cthulhu adventure. It doesn't have all the beats that a good Call of Cthulhu adventure has. Now, that being said, I'm not saying that it's a bad adventure by any stretch. What it does really, really well is it does introduce the key concepts of the game mechanics. The adventure does start out fairly slowly, but it does build. Not a lot of artwork in it. There's a little bit of artwork. And as far as your conclusions to the adventure, there are about, I think there were like 13. There might have been more than that. They're all kind of, well, not, I shouldn't say all. Some of them were kind of similar. How was the book quality? Asks Robert Schneggenberger. Hi, Robert. Welcome to the show. I think this might have been the first time that you've popped into chat. I apologize. I didn't see you earlier. The paper quality is decent. No, it is not. The Fairy says looks like similar paper quality to the hardcore cover books. No, it's not. It is not. I will point that out. Just paper. That was one thing that, of course, now that we had like the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay starter set come out, where it was just, I was like, wow, this is a like standard soft cover adventure book. Then now everything that's just a paper book, kind of, you're sort of like, I don't know. Same thing with the Dungeons and Dragons Essentials kit. Once again, same thing. They gave you what looks like a traditional soft cover adventure book. So regardless, it's still gonna hold up. You're not gonna tear this apart, just playing through it once. One thing. Yeah, that's right. You popped in and you were talking about Warfighter before, Robert. I'm sorry. Yes, I fell on my head, so there might be memory issues. I did fall on my face, obviously enough, right? So, one thing I think is cool about this is, so let's say you've never played Call of Cthulhu. Maybe you and your friends have never played a role-playing game. But there's something about, the whole Lovecraftian aspect of the stories that you're like, hey, you know what? This role-playing game kind of calls to me. You can actually, kind of just share this book around, and everybody can play it. Everybody can get a good idea of how the game actually operates, how the mechanics operate, get kind of a feel for the stories. Like I said, it's not necessarily a fantastic introduction to Lovecraftian adventures, but it's not terrible. So that's one aspect I like having the solitaire adventure in this product because you can just share it around. It's like, you want me to teach you how to play? Well, I'll tell you what. Bam, there you go. Take that home with you. Here's some dice. Take the dice with. Go play. So I do appreciate this. Yes, Alone Against the Flames is already available. It is, I think the PDF is still free to download, just like the quick start rules for Call of Cthulhu are free to download. But I did like this. I did think that this was very nicely done. I had not actually checked this adventure out because it was a solitaire adventure originally. Usually I check out the Chaosium as well as the Stygian Fox Call of Cthulhu releases. So Nefarious says, I don't normally pick up RPG starter sets unless they have some cool, unusual dice in them, having a small custom dice addiction. Well, you had the custom dice for the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. Of course, it's only 2. All right, then we had the introductory rules. So some people will be thinking, well, so what's the difference between these introductory rules and the quick start rules that I can download for free? There is a difference. This is a little more in depth. So, of course, obviously enough, this is not going to have all the information like the Investigator's Guide or the Keeper's Guide. But I'll tell you, it really does boil things down really nicely. So, talking about the concepts of the game, characteristics, your secondary attributes, talking about sample investigator occupations. So there are pre-generated characters, but you could conceivably create your own character or make some modifications to the pre-generated characters. So talking about backstory, one thing I think is kind of funny is now it's like, nowadays players are like, my backstory. And I've mentioned this a lot of times when I'm talking RPGs, that I'm not one of these guys where it's like, I don't want my players to have this big, long production as far as a backstory, because I want the adventures they go on to create their backstory. And I'm not one of these game masters who I want to sit there and have to adjust the storyline or the plotting and things like that simply based on somebody's goofy background that they came up with, in 10 minutes. So that said, I try to work with players, but thankfully I have never had players who are like, oh, I've got like a 5-page backstory I need to share with everybody. So Nefarious says, yeah, they're kind of the same. They're like backstory filled in on the fly. That's actually how a lot of the Powered by the Apocalypse games kind of roll too, where it's sort of you can kind of fill in your backstory as we're playing. So Nefarious says, I checked Alone Against the Flames out a bit. It's not the greatest for Cthulhu, but it's good intro to new players. Yeah, so we agree on that. So it talks about the game system, skill rolls, difficulty levels. Talking about opposed skill rolls. Talks about, basically you could say it's advantage and disadvantage, but in Call of Cthulhu they call it bonus and penalty. So for an example, if you had a bonus, then you would roll your percentile dice and you would take the lower, because of course in the basic role-playing game system, when you're rolling under, you're always looking to roll under your skill. So this would be an 18 rather than a 78. So if you're penalized and you made this roll, that'd be a 78 as opposed to the 18. I'll be very honest, in my Call of Cthulhu games, I don't necessarily use this. I don't use that mechanic. I'll be the first to also point out that I do not sit there and break down the skill levels for difficulty, where it's like, okay, half the skill level, and then it's like 10% of the skill level for something that's really, really difficult. No, it's just me. It's just me. I've said it time and time again. I don't know too many game masters out there who have been running games for a long time, who run games exactly as the book tells them to. Because the golden rule for any role-playing game book is throw out rules you don't like, put in rules you do like. So it talks about combat, a little bit of combat. Obviously enough, there's much more information in the Investigator's Guide and the Keeper's Guide about combat, but it does talk a little bit about firearms and melee. Talking about hit points, healing. Call of Cthulhu is a very lethal game. That is for sure. So here we go. Oh, it's a fifth. That's right. It's a fifth of the value. So when you're filling out your character sheet, you got half and fifth values for your skill levels. And this is just kind of an easy breakdown to help you out. So you don't have to sit there with your calculator. So then it talks about your next steps. So if you like what you see here, those are the books you can pick up. And once again, it's talking about the Investigator's Handbook, Keeper's Handbook, Doors to Darkness, which was one of the first adventure supplements that came out for 7th edition Call of Cthulhu. Then we have book 3, which has the adventures. And one thing I will mention, that as someone who has been running Call of Cthulhu for a long, long time, I was a little disappointed that there was not a new adventure included in the starter set. None of these adventures are new. So now, I'm not the audience for this though, so I have to point that out. I'm not the audience. The audience is introducing this to new players. So we get 3 adventures. First, we get the paper chase. Oh, I should show you. We start off with the pre-gen characters. So we've got the pre-generated characters here. Show off these sheets. I like these sheets. I like these pre-gens. I think they're really nicely done. So we've got Alfred. So he's taking a break from Wayne Manor. Nevada Jones, I thought that was kind of silly. I'm like, okay. So we do have quite a few female characters to choose from as well. And then we've got the blank character sheets. So if you notice, this is one of the reasons why I do not like the have the skill level and then take a fifth of the skill level, is if you take a look at these character sheets, the numbers start getting really cramped in here on these, especially you see this row here. And I'll tell you what, most of the people I play with, now I have fairly decent penmanship. Most of the people that I play with do not. So they will have a very hard time writing those numbers that small into those boxes. So Nefarious says, pre-gen characters more like pre-death characters. Yes, as I mentioned, Call of Cthulhu can be very, very lethal. I gotta be honest, I was never one to run my Call of Cthulhu adventures where it was like, yeah, I'm waiting for the total party kill. Here it comes. I used to cut the players a little bit of slack. Now, that doesn't mean I didn't kill off their characters. Because if you don't kill off the characters, then what's the point of playing? You know what? I mean, it's a horror game. It's kind of like, why would you watch a horror movie if, nothing bad happens? Madman says, penmanship, what's that? All right, quick side note. Kind of funny. When I was younger, I went to, I was like, I don't know, just out of high school or whatever. And I went to go get a job. No, I was in high school, and I was looking to get a part-time job. And I filled out an application at this place at the mall. I don't know what it was. And the young woman who was like the assistant manager or something came out to sit down and, interview me. And the first thing she asked me is, did you have somebody else fill this out for you? I was like, what? What are you talking about? She's like, your penmanship is very, very clean. And most guys don't write like that. I was like, well, this guy does. I write so you can read it. What the hell am I supposed to do? I just thought that was funny. Nefarious says, I'd have to run Call of Cthulhu with extra stuff in Pulp Cthulhu for the survivability boost. I always had a little bit of a pulp flavor to my Call of Cthulhu games going way back. There was always going to be like a chase scene or big, long, drawn-out kind of chase, or I would throw all different stuff into the adventures, and it was funny because all the stuff that my friends remember from back in the day is all stuff that is just I pulled out of my hat. It wasn't the stuff that was baked into an adventure I might have been running. So anyway, so we got the Paper Chase, and the Paper Chase is a classic adventure. It is more fantasy adventure, I think, than Cthulhu or Lovecraftian adventure. Although it can turn badly, it really can. But this is an adventure that does not necessarily have to end in violence or have any violence take place at any point in this adventure. So I remember running this for the gang because this is a pretty old adventure. So that is the Paper Chase. It's pretty short. You can probably get through that in like one session. Then we have Edge of Darkness. Edge of Darkness is going to be a bit meatier adventure. This is more Lovecraftian in flavor. This is more along the lines of the like a haunting kind of adventure, where the players are going to have to solve the puzzle and perform a ritual. Obviously, we can see it takes place at a farmhouse, right? Hopefully, nobody was planning to to play in this, right? So, like I said, this is more in line with Lovecraftian stories. Like I said, it is more kind of self-contained. It is a lot of the action is taking place at a distant farm, rural locale. So, and of course, we've got the handouts. We have a handout book as well that I'll show you. But this adventure should probably take a couple of sessions, is my thought, as far as that. Decent adventure. Then our third adventure is Dead Man Stomp. This is the best adventure out of the bunch, and this is surprisingly, I have to say, I didn't expect Dead Man Stomp to be in the starter set. For one, because there's a lot of stuff going on in this. Number two, it does take place in Harlem. You do have to decide what is going to be your approach as far as racism. So that is something that you have to kind of bang around a little bit. It is an excellent adventure, though, and this is another one I remember running for the gang. This, I want to say, took about three sessions for us to run this. I said flesh-eating ghouls, not flesh-eating girls. Kids. Yeah, Nefarious is chiming in there. So, I want to say, I'm almost positive this is Chris Spivey did this adventure. And Chris Spivey has done, is it Harlem Underground? Is it Underground? I'm trying to remember. It is a fantastic source book. In fact, it is new editions coming out that's going to be coming out from Chaosium, as opposed to Darker Hue Studios, I believe is Chris's game design studio. But this is an excellent adventure. So, and I got to be honest, if your players can handle it, playing this historically with whiffs of bigotry and racism really does make this adventure sing. No pun intended. But this is kind of a story about a cursed item, and there are zombies in it, so you gotta like that. And the players even have an opportunity to possibly encounter A young Louis Armstrong. Well. So that's something else that I always used to do with my in my adventures and that. I used to always like have like some famous celebrity or sports star or politician or something like that kind of make a very cursory appearance in the adventure, and maybe on a train or in a restaurant and things like that. I don't know, just like I used to always have almanacs that would tell me like what took place on what days, so I could kind of fill people in on what like the newspapers would say and stuff like that. So we got the 3 books, and of course book 3 is the longest. Book 2, which is the rules, is the shortest. We do have the character sheets. We got the handout book. So, strangely enough, well, I guess maybe not strangely enough, we do have more than one handout on each page. And of course, if you are going to cut these out, that ruins the handout on the back. So, I don't know what anybody was thinking. So, should be one handout on each page. So what are you supposed to do? Go photocopy these? So, yeah, I thought that was a little odd. So, if you like I said, if you're going to be able to use these handouts, you want to hand them out. You don't want to have to go photocopy this stuff so that you can use it. Because what's the point of having the handout book, right? You could have just taken the handouts from the adventure, because the adventure booklet has the same handouts in them. Kind of a waste of paper, folks. So, that is what we find with the Call of Cthulhu starter set from Chaosium Inc. So, what do I think of it? Well, I have to say, as somebody who has run Call of Cthulhu for decades, this is not a product that's aimed at me. It's not. It is, because I'm familiar with the system, I've run these adventures already. Granted, Alone Against the Flames was new to me because I had avoided it because it was a solitaire adventure. But, that being said, that it's not targeted to me, I think it's a fantastic product. I really, really do. Yes, the dice are kind of cheap and cheesy. Come on, Elliot still has the dice that came in like the 1978 Dungeons and Dragons box. So you don't get cheaper and chintzier than that, where you got your dice and you got a crayon and you had to actually scrape the crayon over the numbers so that the wax would get in that so you could read the number. Doesn't get cheaper and chintzier than that. So yes, the handout booklet is kind of a waste of paper because you can't utilize it, because you've got handouts on both sides. You've got multiple handouts on certain pages as well. Bad design decision there. Whatever. No big deal. But the product itself, as an introduction to Call of Cthulhu, I think is phenomenally well done. Granted, Alone Against the Flames is not a fantastic adventure. It's a fun adventure. It takes a little time to get rolling. And it's not necessarily a great Lovecraftian adventure. But what it does really, really well is introduce you to the concept of creating the character, what these attributes mean, how to fill out like the skill numbers, how you actually perform actions, perform your skill rolls, things like that. Really, really well done introduction to the system itself. Granted, that is available as a free PDF download. So are the quick start rules. Now, as far as the core rulebook, the little it's not necessarily the quick start rules. It looked like there's a little more meat to the rules themselves. There's all the information you need to run the other 3 adventures that are in the starter set is all right there in front of you. The adventures themselves also give you tips and information as well. So I think it was nice that you get a little more information than you really had to have in order to be able to run Call of Cthulhu adventures. Because a lot of times a lot of these starter sets, you get enough information to just kind of, get your characters up to like second level. Of course, there's no leveling in Call of Cthulhu. It's all increasing your skills. But usually it's like, oh, get the level, 2 or 3, and then, well, you want to keep playing this kind of stuff. You got to go buy more products. Not necessarily. I mean, I could easily see people running Call of Cthulhu adventures just with those little rules. Personally, I wouldn't, because there's a lot of great information in the Investigator's Handbook and the Keeper's Guide. So I recommend you pick those up if you really dig Call of Cthulhu. So the 3 adventures, I have a soft spot for Paper Chase because it makes for a very good one-on-one adventure, which you don't find a lot. Granted, yes, we have the Cthulhu Confidential that's from Pelgrane Press, but as far as Call of Cthulhu adventures that are basically for one keeper, one player, they're few and far between. And it's a fun adventure. It makes a nice introduction to not everything in the world is what it seems. And there's a dark layer underneath our world that you may not have been aware of. So I do like the adventure for that. The second adventure is pretty good. We start getting into more Lovecraftian. And then, of course, the Dead Man Stomp, I think, is the best adventure of the bunch. And it's actually an adventure that I recall from back in the day that I ran for the gang, and they really, really enjoyed it. I think it's a very, very good adventure. Although, it might be a little difficult for a beginning keeper, a beginning game master, because there's quite a bit going on. But all in all, I heartily recommend the Call of Cthulhu starter set. That's right. On a scale of 1 to 10, I give it an extremely solid 9.3 out of 10. Just dung it a little bit, little dings for the dice, as well as the handout book, which is sort of like, what's that for? And the paper books will not hold up to a lot of play, which nowadays we're seeing the starter sets for these role-playing games coming out with, soft-bound books rather than just paper. All right, so let's see what we've got here. So, Zombies, Nefarious says, yeah, kind of, sort of. Kind of the reason I want PDF versions, so I can print off tables, handouts, etc. Yes, the D&D Precision Dice. Nefarious has been around long enough to remember those. So, So Madman says, and I've heard this before. The Madman has mentioned that neither of his groups want to try anything different. It's all 5e or Savage Worlds. Well, there is Lovecraftian Savage Worlds if you want to get into Lovecraft. And I mean, if you're an experienced, and I believe the Madman is an experienced keeper. Sorry, now my nose is running. Damn you, con crud. It is not that difficult to port over role-playing game adventures from system to system. As long as you're willing to hand-wave stuff. Come on, isn't that the point? Do you really need to know exactly how many hit dice that one creature had from Tunnels and Trolls that you think is a really cool monster? No. Not at all. So 2 groups. Wow, that's pretty cool. Like pulling teeth, getting people out of the D&D Pathfinder rut. Says Nefarious. I don't. At least they're playing games. That's how I kind of look at it. At least they're playing games. I think that's pretty cool. And I am not here to tell anybody they're having wrong fun. Now, if they're playing stuff like Fatal, yeah, that's wrong fun. Sorry. You're playing weirdo, oddball, dressing up like maids, and yeah, no, sorry. That's probably wrong fun, but Pathfinder, Dungeons & Dragons, it's all good. So, that is it for tonight's show. As I mentioned, on tomorrow's show, I'll be unboxing and taking a first look at Heart of Crown, Fairy Garden from Japanime Games. See, look at that pretty face right there. Little pretty face. And then my Mikhail Gorbachev thing going. Yep. All right, so Nefarious is laughing maids. Yeah, I hear stories. You know, it's like, okay, before I wrap up, it's kind of like role playing on the dark web. It's like some of the stuff that people play. It's like, and I mean, I've had people tell me, and I'm kind of like, oh, okay, all right, well, okay, well, if you're all enjoying it, I guess that's okay, but sounds bizarre. So, as I like to point out, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, please go visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. By now, you know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. I will be back tomorrow. So, tomorrow will be Friday. We'll wrap up the week. So, everybody who was hanging out in chat, thank you so much for popping in. Bones got to catch the show live. So, like I said, probably not as exciting as you thought I might have been. But, hey, it was live, right? But, so everybody hanging out in chat, thanks so much for keeping me company. Those of you who watched live and didn't chime in, why not? Come on, nobody bites. And I also love everybody who watches the show after it streams too. So, big thanks to you as well. So, as I mentioned, I'll be back tomorrow. It'll be Friday night. So until then, everybody take care.
Thanks again for watching The Daily Dope, presented by The Gaming Gang. If you like this episode, be sure to give it a quick thumbs up. And if you dig the channel, please subscribe. If you'd like to check out our previous episode, click right here. And if you want to check out a somewhat randomly selected episode, give a click right down here. It'll be like opening a box of Cracker Jacks. You just don't know what you'll get. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'm Jeff McAleer.